Hey everybody, welcome to the Sensitar Fragrance channel. Thank you so much for being here. You know what's good. You've come to the right place for all things fragrance related, fragrance news, fragrance reviews, and so much more. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, especially if you're new to my channel, and let's start this video. I think that this is a very important topic. This is a very important issue in the fragrance world. I hope that this is a great educational video. I do fragrance chats here and there along with my reviews, and today is a fragrance chat, and it is an important one again at that. So let's start. Before I start though, this could be seen as a video throwing a little fuel on the fire, perhaps creating a little drama. I'm not trying to do that here. I'm simply trying to, bring an issue up, bring a conversation to the fold. I would love your comments below, input, negative or positive. So let's start with this video. Let's talk about, is it worth it? I think this is a very important issue, and of course these are my opinions. Of course you can have your own, and that is perfectly fine. So this is a issue in the, consuming anything. We buy, we love to consume things, get out there, pull out the credit card, whatever the case might be. We're kind of in a consumer economy a lot of the times, no matter where you live in the world. So this is an issue just talking about what the prices are of the fragrances, where the prices come from, and how that's going to impact our shopping or our buying habits. So let's start with, where do the fragrance costs come from? Then we'll talk about the different categories of fragrances. So first, with fragrance cost, what we're paying for a lot of the times can be these three things. It can be branding, it can be quality, and it can be distribution. So let's talk about branding for a second. What is branding? So if I was to say a big name store, if I was to say, no matter where you live, if I was to probably say McDonald's or any other, huge international company, you would probably have an association with that brand, positive or negative, on what you thought of the brand, what the brand could do for you. It has a reputation. So when we're talking about branding, we're talking about that image that goes a lot into marketing. So they have to market to be able to expose themselves, to show you that image, show you their goodwill, or what they advocate, what they are offering for as a product to you, the consumer. So that's a lot of what we pay for. If a fragrance has more marketing behind it, you're often are going to pay for those costs, because they have to pay for that, everything involved. So next one is quality. Of course we know that quality is a factor. This is everything from the ingredients to a fragrance, or just about anything. What is it composed of? Is it something more affordable? Is it something that's more rare and expensive? Something that came from Madagascar, perhaps, like a Madagascar vanilla? Is it something that's very easy to accessible? Is it just an industrial kind of food grade kind of scent that they used in a blend? So these are issues, and again, these all can be ethical issues as well. But we're not going to get into that too much. This is just a video to help us to understand, ourselves and what we like to buy, and perhaps make plans for the future. So the next one is distribution. Now this is a section or an aspect of the overall price that sometimes we, overlook. So this is all about if the fragrance is available to you or not, what kind of hoops you have to jump through to get the fragrance. If the fragrance is very close to you, like at a mall, you don't have to jump through many hoops. The fragrance is right there for you. It's very convenient to get. You probably heard about them, of course, going back to marketing. So, but on the opposite side with distribution, some companies intentionally try to reduce the amount that's available. They could produce 1,000 bottles of the fragrance, or 1,000 units of the product, but instead they create 100. They increase the scarcity and they know they only have a certain amount of customers, so they're making more money per customer. So they've done the math, and they've gone through and figured that they could make more by going through this strategy. Now, it's arguable if this is moral or not, but of course, again, we're not going to get into that. But today, I hope that these three things help you to understand fragrance a little bit more. Now, let's talk about the categories. Each three of these things are a factor in each one category. First, we have designer fragrances. These are fragrances usually that are companies that produce clothing or different goods, but I think it's just they're kind of a fast, and not necessarily fast fashion, but they produce a lot of different types of flankers, a lot of different types of fragrances a lot of the times. I think Zara is a perfect example of this, and they rebrand themselves a lot. So designers are definitely one of the three categories, I guess, of branding. Then we have niche. I think a lot of us talked about niche. Again, I think it's a topic that a lot of people have different opinions on. It's not a company. I mean, some people might see it as a company that simply doesn't sell clothes, but it's a lot more than that. I think it's a brand that focuses on fragrances, loves fragrances, and puts a lot of effort into them. And so it's not just that they don't sell clothes, because they could sell candles and they could sell a lot of other goods, lotions, etc., etc. The next is indie. Now, these brands are not niche necessarily, because indie brands, they can produce a lot of different things along with their fragrances. They can have a lot of seasonal items. They don't put a lot of effort and or a lot of resources into marketing per se, and they don't have a lot of distribution a lot of times, even less than the niche per se, because they're just getting they're just an upstarting company a lot of the times, or they just want to keep it really small. So let's talk about designer first. So designer, with their quality, it's going to be mixed. You're going to have some that are really good, and you're going to have some that are, perhaps really cheap. So big examples of these are Christian Dior's exclusive line. You could even consider those niche, but to some, those are considered designer fragrances. Tom Ford, especially their exclusives, I would consider that niche. But in the designer world, those are available depending on where you go, to a Bloomingdale's, a Neiman Marcus. And but on the other side of the spectrum, with quality, you might go for something like Curve, or other fragrances like Allspice, shaving lotion. And again, nothing's wrong with that. But let's talk about marketing. Designer fragrances often have a lot of marketing behind them. I think I'll never forget how many advertisements I got for Dolce & Gabbana The One. That's a great fragrance. It's a top seller. I give them kudos. They're very successful with that fragrance, but they have a lot of marketing behind it, and they get a lot more sales because of it. And their marketing isn't strange or odd in any way, really. So marketing is up, so that's a cost with designer. Then with distribution, their distribution is up the wall. They're in every mall. They're easily accessible. You can easily find them probably right around the corner, right in your hometown. So that's designer fragrances. Next is niche. Niche, the quality is through the roof. But again, with any of these things, sometimes there's some that are, deceptive or don't do a great job. So, but generally speaking, niche, the quality is just up there. The price is going to reflect that, but they usually source the rarest ingredients, the most expensive. They're willing to use natural ambergris and natural amber, and really expensive ingredients like Rose Absolute and Jasmine Absolute. So that's a huge factor with this. With marketing, it depends on the niche brand. Usually it's so-so. Usually there's some less marketing. And distribution usually is way low. So these fragrances are usually created in smaller batches. Let's say they only produce 10,000 a year. Let's say they have an exclusive, or they're just a smaller niche company and they only produce 1,000 bottles a year of that fragrance. And because of that, they're going to have a higher price tag because it's more desirable. So the price for niche usually is really high, but then you're going to get something, generally speaking, that smells more unique. It smells different. It perhaps had more artistic vision going into it. So that's niche. Next is indie. Now indie is something of a disruption, or kind of perhaps a chaotic force to some in the fragrance world. They can be more of a designer, and they can be a little bit more of a niche. But indie, generally, the quality is a little bit higher, or they give you a cheaper price. It really depends on what the indie brand is going for. I've smelled some, and the quality was almost as good, if not just as good, as a niche house. And I've smelled some where the quality wasn't so good, but also the price was, a reflection of that. So generally their marketing is way low and their distribution is way low. So they might only produce 100 bottles a year depending on the brand. So the price is a little bit higher because of that, but the marketing is low. I hope this video hasn't been tedious. I know it's a little bit long, but I just really hope this helps you understand the fragrance game, the fragrance nuances of, perhaps you could say, the capitalism behind all of this. I hope that you as a consumer of fragrances begin to understand where you like to buy, or kind of where you fall, in the fragrance scheme of things. If you were to ask me personally, I really enjoy them all. I do like niche, but I do tend to go more for indie now. I do think niche, a lot of the time, charges way too much for their fragrances. And some of my upcoming reviews are going to reflect that. I will give you contrasts and comparisons with different fragrances that smell similar for much cheaper prices. But of course, some people have the extra coin, they have the extra shekel, and they're really willing to, be unique, stand out, and then, have something luxurious that nobody else really has. So, and designers, of course, are mass appealing. I think everybody likes them. In indie, you can really get something unique and different at an affordable price a lot of the times, if you're willing to put a little bit more work into it, if you're willing to buy yourself a sample. So don't be afraid of indie. I, of course, again, with any of my samples, I have paid for them all. I do hope that I can represent companies and give my honest reviews in the future, but I hope that I can give indie houses a little bit more exposure. But this has been the Scentatar channel. Let me know if you like this video, if it's been too long, if it's been too wordy. I hope it was educational. I hope it was something that helps you on your fragrance journey. I certainly have a passion for it. I do hope that every time you buy a fragrance, every time you make a purchase in general, that you feel happy with your purchase and that you feel like you've gotten good value for your money, whatever that value might be. So this has been the Scentatar Fragrance Channel. Wear what you love, that's what I always say. And thank y'all for being here. Please like, comment, and subscribe, especially if you've stuck around to the end of this long video. So thank y'all for being here. I'll see y'all next time, and bye.